Yes, hello. I think I have to add a little bit. First of all, I want to show you my one and only contribution to the world of fashion and design. This is a Pussy Riot t-shirt. It says PR. And you saw there's a little hill which reminds of Golgotha a little bit with three crosses in it. So it's my design. Only one copy has been printed. I've been wearing this t-shirt when I went to support Pussy Riot, the Taganka War. And also, Nadia just told you about poetry readings. And I suddenly thought that my friends from Moscow who decided that they'll be better off in New York City, they just brought me a translation of my poem. I mean, you know, I never wrote poems, but I wrote one song called Shapu Nana or Shaiku Putina Nanare. I always translated it as put Putin's gang behind the bars, you know, which was, well, a very straightforward translation, but very well known, arguably the best Russian translator at the moment, Maxim Nemtsov. He's done a very artistic version of my primitive verse. And so it's called it Putin's Gang Should Go Hang, lyrics by Artemy Troitsky, translated by Max Nemtsov. So let me read you. Little Vavan hit a jackpot. Now Mother Russia needs no other lot. All population is comatose. Big pigs are ruling and guards stand by close. Those bloodsuckers are busy as bees. All of them are the judo birds or KGBs. Sucking and pumping and getting high. But even for them, well, the end is nigh. And the chorus goes, Putin's gang should go hang, Putin's gang should be hanged. I agree. Out with them and don't feel that you're ousted. This rotten grief should be finally busted. We could wait for changes for 1,000,000 years, but you'll never stand up if you don't lose your fears. Kids are the new internet guerrilla. Their moms go to rallies where the action is realer. Their dads still tell the truth about big bots in their blogs, all nations exterminating the bugs. Gagarin, Vysotsky, and Soy are our kind. The winds of freedom are blowing our minds. Fuck. All this fear, no zombie shit, please. Oh, Mother Russia, we're up from our knees. Putin's gang should get banged. Putin's gang should go bang. So, this was a tiny preview of the poetry reading which will follow later. Well, I hope there are some people here from the New York consulate of the Russian embassy. I think they will have a lot of fun tonight. So, let's start with the musical group whom this t-shirt is dedicated to. Of course, they are called Pussy Riot, and you've seen, I think, many times their most famous or infamous video called Bogorodiца Deva Putina Прогони, which means Holy Mother, Holy Virgin, please deliver us from Putin. Nearly said deliver us from the Putin. It would be good. But now I'd like to play a lesser known video, and I think a better video, because it's been this action took place on January 20th, 2012, and unlike the action at the Church of Crazy Saber, this action hasn't been aborted, so they could, they could make a full-time decent video. So here it goes, and it's said, Putin zassal.
Вперед! Идет! Восставшая колонна!
the chorus line in this song goes, "Бунт в России, Putin зассал." Is it okay if I keep the light dim? Yeah, I think it will be that. There's a riot going in Russia and Putin got pissed off. So this is what the girls are thinking about. And first of all, I would like to explain those of you who are not familiar with the Russian riot, why this riot is happening. And it still is happening, no matter what you are told. To explain this, let's go back by 20 years, the 90s. In 1991, as you know, Soviet Union broke up, and this marked the beginning of a fantastic career for a tiny minority of Russians. You know, people who managed to make millions and billions. You know, the enterprising people, the people who wanted to take chances, you know, people who were at the right time in the right place. So a lot of them have made their fortunes. Well, some of them, of course, also ended up with bullets through their head, you know, because all this was quite risky. But again, they were a tiny minority of the Russian population. For a huge majority of the Russian population, the 90s meant the end of many things. They've lost their empire, and for Russians this is quite important. They've lost their savings. Many of them lost their jobs. They've lost completely the social security in both technical sense, but also in the general sense. There was absolutely no security in Russia in the 90s. In a way, Russia in the 90s was a very free country. I would say that this was probably the biggest anarchic country in human history. Of course, it was all very, very frustrating and very tiring for most Russians. And by the way, Boris Yeltsin, the then leader of Russia, was very symbolic. You know, he one day would be very nice and heroic. The other day, he, you know, was completely drunk and tried to conduct the German military orchestra. So by the end of the decade, Russian people were praying for a firm hand. They said, no, we don't want you know, this chaos and disorder anymore. We want law and order, and we want, you know, someone who would provide us with it. So then there was, of course, Mr. Putin, who was, for whatever reason, still not absolutely clear for most people, handpicked by Mr. Yeltsin with a little help from his friends, like Mr. Berezovsky, Mr. Yumashev, and so on, the so-called Yeltsin's family, Mr. Abramovich. Needless to say, the beginning of Putin's rule has been quite successful. I must confess that I disliked this guy from the very beginning. You know, for purely kind of physical perception. You know, I didn't like his reddish face. I didn't like his fishy eyes and so on. So I thought that he's simply ugly. But I was in a minority. A lot of Russians, they thought, you know, that this is more or less what we need because this guy is young, because this guy seems, you know, quite sober for most of the time, and also because he promises us very nice things. And this is very important because in many ways, Vladimir Putin has been exceptionally lucky right from the beginning of his presidency. The most lucky thing, indeed, has been the fact that the oil prices went up 5 to 6 times. No, the average price of a barrel of oil has been about $20 per barrel in the 90s. in the zeros, you know, in the first decade of the 21st century, the average oil price, as you probably know, don't really know what you are studying at anthropology, but maybe you somehow touch upon the issues of economy. In the following decade, the price of oil was between 100 and went up to $150. So it went up 5, 6, 7 times if compared to the previous decade. Another thing Putin was very lucky with was the fact that after the tragic events of 9/11 in the United States, the USA, the global watchdog of freedom of democracy, became fully obsessed with other regions, other countries, you know, Afghanistan, Iraq for whatever reason, and you know, fighting Islamic fundamentalism and terrorism and so on. So they didn't really care much about what was going on with their former arch enemy, which was Russia, of course. I have to admit that Putin's government also made some clever economic moves in the beginning of the decade, like they've introduced this flat tax rate of 13%, which was quite, you know, advanced and progressive, and attracted quite a lot of foreign investment in Russia at that time, and also kind of, you know, wiped up a Russian business. So, as a result of that, Mr. Putin could propose his people, us, the Russian, a certain pact. I could call it a pact of non-interference. And the message said that I, Mr. Putin, and my lovely friends, we guarantee you the stability you've been asking for. I can guarantee you a relatively decent standard of living. You can have your cheap car, you can go on holidays to Turkey, you know, you can take the credit and buy something and so on. So live quite a decent life, you know, like people in some other places do. In return, what I want from you is you don't necessarily have to praise me, but you have to vote for me, and in any case you have to accept or to turn a blind eye on what me, Mr. Putin, and my friends will be doing. And what we are about to do is we are going to have a party. We are going to have a huge party of unlimited theft and corruption. Okay, said the Russian people, you know, that's not bad. It's a deal, they said. And so it went ahead. And I have to say that this pact did not only apply for the kind of average mass of Russian population. It also has appealed to various kinds of Russian elites. Like in case of the business elite, it has been stated, well, you know, there's a very witty formulation which is said to be made by Mr. Putin himself when he was having a round table with the so-called Russian oligarchs. He spread the message which said, "Пиздить, но не пиздеть." You know, in Russian it sounds a little rude, but the meaning of this expression is actually very innocent. It says you can grab as much as you can, but you should keep your mouth shut. And of course there was also some kind of secret protocol addressed to the business elite, which said if we need money from you, you will give us this money no matter how much we will ask you about. And if you don't do it, then you will follow the path of Mr. Mikhail Borisovich Khodorkovsky, you know, the richest Russian oil tycoon who's been put to jail and is in jail up until now. So hence, by the way, various fantastic phenomena like the Sochi Olympic Games, which are already the most expensive Olympic Games in human history, more expensive than the Summer Games in London and even Beijing, which is also quite a rich country which likes to impress people. And also it is more, the Sochi Olympics are more expensive than all Winter Olympics throughout their whole history, from 1924, you know, somewhere in French Alps, up until Vancouver in 2010. So all these Winter Olympics put together have costed less than one Olympic Games in Sochi, and these games, of course, are still 1 year ahead. So we'll see how much they will spend, how much this black hole will consume in the following year. And this, of course, you know, is done in a very simple way. It's like, you know, there's a phone call coming from Mr. Putin to, I don't know, the president of a big Russian bank or a big oil company saying, "Hello, Mr. Friedman, you know, there's this ski trampoline. We've already spent $5 billion on this trampoline, but it's still not built. Actually, there's nothing on this site so far, but there's a deadline, and we need this trampoline to be built, because otherwise, you know, these ski jumpers, you know, will have to do alpine skiing instead of jumping. So please, we need $5 more billion, and you know where to put them." "Okay," says Mr. Friedman, "I will do it, Vladimir Vladimirovich, no problem." So, and the same kind of pact has also been offered to the Russian so-called cultural elite. The theater directors, the filmmakers, pop singers, writers, you know, blah, 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 TV personalities. And in this particular case, the message was approximately like this: "Guys, you are absolutely free to do whatever you want. You know, we, the former KGB officers, and judo masters, we have always respected creative people. So do whatever you want. You want any kinds of artistic experiments? Go for it. You want sex, drugs, violence? No problem. You want to make films that make Quentin Tarantino look like the Muppet Show? That would be fantastic. So, do whatever you want, but don't you dare, you know, to enter this little green door in the dark end of the castle." You remember the fairy tale about Bluebird and his castle. So it was like this. And of course, you know, this little green door at the dark end was issues of politics, issues of corruption, you know, all those things that Mr. Putin and his gang didn't want, you know, to be a matter of public discussion, let alone artistic statements. So, well, the Russian cultural elite said, yes, you know, we've dreamt about this all our lives, and a lot of them started, you know, just to do all kinds of experiments, and some of those experiments proved to be quite interesting. Some others, you know, the especially privileged ones, they've been given all kinds of state subsidies, state financing, you know, for theaters, for filmmaking, and so on. When it comes to pop and rock stars, they've been given the biggest privilege of all. They've been given the right to play at корпоративы. You don't know what корпоративы is? Okay. Корпоративы is an amazing Russian pop phenomenon. we have a certain amount of pop stars in Russia. And if you ask, what is the main source of income for Nikolai Baskov, Philippe Kirkorov, Valeria, Pugacheva, Stas Mikhailov, Yelena Vine, the biggest Russian pop stars, the answer will be amazing. This is not the money coming from record sales, because records are not sold in Russia, always. Russia has always been a country of piracy, and I love it. They also don't come from those tricky capitalist things that I really don't understand much about, like publishing, royalties, and all this. That's too sophisticated. Even more surprising is that they didn't come from public concerts, from selling tickets and playing to big crowds. No way, because these artists, they very seldom give public concerts. So where do their millions come from? And we are really talking millions. They are coming from closed parties, closed invitation-only corporate parties, private parties, and so on. And there's so much money in Russia that there's a whole huge industry of those corporate events, birthday parties, funerals, jubilees, and so on. And all the major Russian pop stars and rock stars, they're always there, and for them this is far more profitable than giving public concerts, because a typical performance at such corporative only lasts about 20-30 minutes, and it's always done to a backing track. And what's even better is right after this, they remove the disc from the player, put it in their pocket, and go straight on to the next corporate party. So within one little or long night, they can easily earn up to $500,000 playing, say, 5 or 6 such parties. Well, of course, this is only happening in November and December, but the parties are also happening at a less intensive scheme also throughout the year. And this, of course, has led to the fantastic artistic results. I'm going to show you the most popular Russian pop artist of today. By far, the most popular one. And at the same time, I'm a music expert. I do understand these things. I prefer contemporary music and jazz and rock music, but I also, I have to listen to pop. And I do understand something about pop music as well. I can assure you, this is the worst pop performer ever, from any age, any country. This is Mr. Stas Mikhailov.
Все, что до этого пел, поехали, танцуем! В моей судьбе есть только ты. Одна любовь и боль моя. С тобою повстречались мы. Родная женщина моя. То ли на радость, то ли на беду.
another popular Russian word, so I will stop here. Now this guy, by the way, he sells out Madison Square Garden. And I think, you know, the whole population of Brighton Beach goes there religiously. Well, I'm glad that you feel entertained at last. So, seriously speaking, for me, Stas Mikhailov is an exact analog of Mr. Putin. I mean, I seriously don't understand how this kind of creature can be popular. You know, it has something to do with the mysterious Russian soul or whatever. I have a very dear friend of mine whom I visited in Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago, Eileen O'Connor, who was the Moscow bureau chief for CNN for maybe 10 or 12 years. So Eileen has a theory that Russians love to suffer, period. And she has, you know, all kinds of arguments to prove that, you know, starting from current political situation and finishing with Fyodor Mikhailovich Dostoevsky and so on. And I said, well, no, I don't believe that. I mean, you know, how can a whole nation be absolutely masochistic? I mean, I'm Russian and I hate to suffer. I love to have fun. Well, she said, well, you're just not typical. So here we go. Vladimir Putin, Stas Mikhailov. But luckily for us, and luckily for Mother Russia, fewer and fewer people, or actually more and more people refused to take Stas Mikhailov to their CD players and computers, and also to approve the pact of Vladimir Putin. And the glorious pact that was working quite well by the end of the first decade of the 21st century started to crumble. It has started to crumble mostly because, mostly because of two things. You know, one thing is that the Russian elite started to behave or kept behaving in a more and more shameless and brutal way. Like, you know, there is a very important Russian economic term called atkat. I think in English it's called kickback. I mean, whenever you pay money, you know, to somebody or invest money or whatever, you have to give this kickback. If you don't do it, you will not be permitted, you know, to do your business, to buy something, to invest into something, and so on. So the norm of this atkat in the 90s has been about 5–10%. Like the former Prime Minister Mikhail Kasyanov, who is now also a member of the opposition, he had a nickname, Misha 3%, Misha 3%, which means that every time he, as the Prime Minister, was signing, you know, some kind of paper concerning, you know, finances, investments, and so on, he was automatically taking a commission of 3% in his own pocket. But this